It was a sweltering afternoon in Ouagadougou, the sun blazing down on the bustling capital of Burkina Faso, when Ibrahim Traoré received an urgent call from his communications advisor, Amadou Cohn. "Mr. President, you need to see this immediately. Ellen DeGeneres made some deeply offensive remarks about you on her show." Traoré was in a meeting with his cabinet, discussing critical infrastructure projects, but he paused everything to watch the video Amadou presented on his tablet. On the screen, Ellen DeGeneres was laughing uncontrollably, holding up a photo of Traoré. "Guys, have you seen this president from Burkina? What's it called again?" "Burkina Faso," she said, prompting laughter from her American audience. "He's 35 years old and thinks he's the savior of Africa. It's hilarious. He looks like a kid playing soldier, dressing up for Halloween." The audience roared with amusement as Ellen continued. "Seriously, someone needs to tell this guy that running a country isn't like playing a video game. Maybe he should go back to school instead of pretending to be president." Traoré watched in silence, his face unreadable, while his ministers grew visibly agitated. "This is outrageous," exclaimed Dr. Safiatou Diallo, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. "She's not just insulting you, Mr. President, she's mocking our entire nation." Ellen's remarks continued, each word dripping with condescension. "And that name, Ibrahim Traoré, sounds like a character from some over-the-top telenovela. Someone should tell him real life isn't a TV drama." The video ended with Ellen performing an exaggerated caricature of a military salute, sparking another wave of laughter from her audience. Traoré took a deep breath, closed the tablet, and looked at his team. "Call an emergency meeting. It's time we teach MS DeGeneres a lesson in respect and dignity." In the hours that followed, social media in Burkina Faso erupted with outrage. On the streets of Ouagadougou, university students organized spontaneous protests, holding signs that read, "Respect our president," and "Ellen doesn't know us." The video of Ellen's show went viral, shared millions of times across the continent, accompanied by furious comments from Africans worldwide. Traoré was in his office when his wife, Fatoumata Traoré, stormed in, her eyes blazing with anger. "Traoré, I saw what that woman said. How dare she speak about you, about us like that?" Traoré embraced her gently. "My love, ignorant people have always existed. She simply revealed her true colors to the world." Fatoumata shook her head. "But she has millions of followers. She's spreading lies about Burkina Faso." At that moment, Aissata Cohn, the Minister of Economy, entered with troubling news. "Mr. President, Ellen's comments are already hurting our international reputation. 3 American investors have canceled meetings scheduled for next week." Traoré reviewed the reports, his brow furrowing. "This shows how ignorance can have real consequences," he said. "But it also proves we must educate the world about who we truly are." Amadou interrupted with an update from social media. "Sir, the hashtag Respect Burkina Faso is trending globally. African leaders are rallying behind you." Senegal's president tweeted, "Ellen DeGeneres displays gross ignorance about modern Africa." Ibrahim Traoré is a respected leader. Presidents from Ghana, Nigeria, and beyond have voiced similar support. Traoré nodded thoughtfully. "I see we have allies. But our response cannot be fueled by anger. It must be intelligent, educational, and powerful." The next morning, he convened a special meeting with his communications team. The conference room in the presidential palace buzzed with aides, ministers, and digital media strategists. "Ladies and gentlemen," Traoré began, his voice steady, "Ellen DeGeneres has given us a rare opportunity. She's exposed her ignorance to the world, and now we'll use it to teach everyone about Burkina Faso." Dr. Diallo leaned forward. "What's your plan, Mr. President?" Traoré's lips curved into a subtle smile. "We're going to respond on her own territory with a video that will go viral for reasons she could never imagine." Amadou opened his laptop. "I can arrange a professional production here at the palace. Top-tier equipment, perfect lighting." Traoré shook his head. "No, we don't want it to feel staged. I want authenticity, but with impact. Let's film across the country, showing our reality." Isada suggested we can highlight economic progress, development statistics, infrastructure achievements. Excellent, Traoré agreed. But I also want to showcase our culture, our people, our dignity. Ellen mocked our appearance. Let's show our substance. Fatoumata added, include voices from ordinary citizens. Let them speak about the changes you've brought. Traoré nodded. We want every American who watches to see the difference between cheap entertainment and true leadership. The production team worked tirelessly to craft the script. Traoré would travel across Burkina Faso, visiting schools, hospitals, factories, and development projects. The goal was clear: create a response that was not just a rebuttal, but a celebration of Burkina Faso's progress and pride. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Ellen DeGeneres remained oblivious to the storm she had ignited. Her producers were beginning to receive protest emails, but she continued her routine, unaware that she was about to face one of the most profound and graceful counter-responses in television history. 3 days later, Traoré was ready. The production team had worked around the clock to create a video that would make history. Standing in his presidential office, dressed in a sharp suit with the Burkina Faso flag behind him, Traoré began recording. Hello, Ms. Ellen DeGeneres. I'm Ibrahim Traoré, the boy in costume you mocked. His voice was calm, yet commanding. I'd like to introduce you to the real Burkina Faso, not the caricature in your imagination. The camera followed him as he stepped outside the palace and into a modest vehicle. You said I look like I'm playing house. Let me show you the kind of house I work to build every day. Their first stop was a state-of-the-art hospital in Ouagadougou. This is one of 75 health facilities we've constructed in recent years. Before, women died in childbirth due to lack of care. Today, our maternal mortality rate has plummeted by 65%. The video showed doctors at work, modern equipment in action, and patients receiving care. You may be joking, Ms. DeGeneres, but we are saving lives. Next, Traoré visited a technical school where young people were mastering coding and robotics. You laughed at my name, calling me a telenovela character. These students don't care about my name. They care about the opportunities we're creating. A 19-year-old student, Mariam Zongo, spoke to the camera. Our president gave us hope. Before, young people like me dreamed of leaving. Now, we're building our future here. The crew moved to a cotton processing plant. You mock me for playing video games, Ms. DeGeneres. This industry has created 50,000 jobs and exports to 25 countries. Perhaps you should trade your jokes for a look at our economy. Traoré gestured to mechanized fields, paved roads, and advanced irrigation systems. You suggested I go back to school. I earned my MBA, studying late into the night, because my people deserve a better life now. When the video was posted online, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, it garnered 1 million views. By the end of the day, it was trending globally on social media platforms. Comments flooded in from across the world. This man just schooled Ellen DeGeneres with dignity. Finally, someone showed the real Africa. Ibrahim Traoré is the leader we need more of. The video sparked a range of reactions, but the overwhelming sentiment was admiration for Traoré. American celebrities began weighing in. A prominent talk show host tweeted, "Education and dignity always outshine ignorance." Well done, President Traoré. Even some of Ellen's colleagues criticized her. Ellen crossed the line, said a network anchor. Mocking a foreign leader isn't comedy, it's disrespect. In Los Angeles, Ellen's team was in crisis mode. Traoré's video was outpacing their show's recent viewership. Ellen, you have to see this, her executive producer urged, showing her the metrics. He's completely flipped the narrative. Ellen watched in silence, each frame exposing the depth of her ignorance. Damn, she whispered. I didn't know anything about this man or his country. Back in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim Traoré was receiving calls from world leaders, each praising his poised and powerful response. The French president's voice came through the line, warm with admiration. President Traoré, your dignity in the face of such mockery was remarkable. France is honored to strengthen its partnership with Burkina Faso. Moments later, The Canadian Prime Minister echoed the sentiment. Your response was a masterclass in leadership. Canada is eager to deepen our cooperation. Traoré listened humbly, his voice steady. Thank you, but I didn't seek this conflict. I simply saw an opportunity to show the world who we are. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Ellen DeGeneres was grappling with the fallout. Her show's ratings had taken a sharp hit. Sponsors were growing restless, and her team was urging her to act. Ellen, this is spiraling, her agent said during a tense meeting. You need to address this publicly and fast. Ellen, unaccustomed to issuing apologies, was visibly shaken. I never thought he'd respond like that. I didn't realize. I didn't know the country was like that. Her producer cut in, voice firm. That's the problem, Ellen. You spoke about something you didn't understand. After hours of deliberation, Ellen made a decision she'd never made before. A live, unscripted retraction. That afternoon, she took the stage, her usual bright smile replaced by a somber expression. Today, I need to talk about something serious, she began, her voice quieter than usual. A few days ago, I made comments about President IBRAHIM Traoré of Burkina Faso that were thoughtless, inappropriate, and ignorant. The audience, used to her light-hearted banter, fell silent. I mocked a man who dedicates his life to improving his nation. I ridiculed a country I knew nothing about, without bothering to learn. She paused, glancing at the studio screen, where clips of Traoré's video began to play. This man, who I called a boy in costume, has built hospitals, schools, and jobs. He's transformed lives, while I sat here making cheap jokes about his name and appearance. Ellen's voice wavered, but she pressed on. President Traoré, I know you're watching. I apologize to you, to the people of Burkina Faso, and to all of Africa for my insensitive and prejudiced remarks. The audience remained hushed, absorbing the weight of her words. To show my commitment to making this right, Ellen continued, I'm announcing that I will travel to Burkina Faso to learn about your country and your work. I'm also donating $1 million to support educational initiatives there. In Ouagadougou, Traoré watched the broadcast live with his team. Fatoumata, his wife, turned to him. She sounds sincere. Traoré nodded thoughtfully. Repentance is the first step toward growth. Let's give her a chance to learn. 2 weeks later, Ellen DeGeneres stepped off a plane at Ouagadougou International Airport, greeted by a swarm of international media. It was her first time setting foot in Africa, and the weight of the moment was palpable. IBRAHIM Traoré was there to welcome her, extending his hand with a warm smile. Welcome to Burkina Faso, Ms. DeGeneres. Ellen, visibly nervous, clasped his hand. Thank you, President Traoré. I don't deserve this kindness after what I said. Traoré's expression softened. Everyone deserves an opportunity to grow through understanding. Over the next 3 days, he personally guided her through the country, determined to show her the reality she had once mocked. Their first stop was a hospital featured in Traoré's viral video. Ellen walked through the wards, speaking with doctors and patients, her eyes widening at the advanced equipment. I had no idea an African nation could have healthcare this sophisticated, she admitted to the cameras trailing them. A young mother, holding her newborn, shared her story. Before these hospitals, I would have lost my baby. Now we have hope. Ellen listened, her face a mix of awe and regret. At a technical school, she met students developing apps for local farmers. A 20-year-old named Kofi Sanu showed her his project. This app uses weather data to help farmers irrigate their crops. It's on 300 farms now. Ellen shook her head, laughing self-deprecatingly. And I thought you didn't even have Wi-Fi here. Traoré took her to a solar energy project powering rural villages. Burkina Faso is a leader in renewable energy in West Africa, he explained. 90% of our new energy is clean. Ellen scribbled notes, her curiosity growing. That evening, she dined with a farming family who had benefited from government programs. The matriarch, Awa Touré, spoke proudly. Before President Traoré, we struggled to eat twice a day. Now my son is studying engineering at university. Ellen sat quietly, the weight of her past ignorance settling deeper. "I got this so wrong," she whispered to Traoré later. "I'm sorry." On the second day, they visited a cultural center where artisans preserved Burkina Faso's rich traditions. Ellen watched a weaver create intricate patterns, her eyes bright with admiration. "This is incredible. Your cultural heritage is so vibrant." Traoré smiled. "This is the soul of our people, something no joke can diminish." By the third day, Ellen was a changed woman. The host who had once ridiculed Traoré now followed him with genuine respect, asking thoughtful questions and listening intently. During a walk through the presidential palace gardens, she stopped and turned to him. "President Traoré, I need to confess something. I've spent my career thinking I understood the world. Now I see I've been living in a bubble." Traoré nodded, his voice gentle. "Your honesty is commendable, Ms. DeGeneres. Many would cling to their misconceptions rather than face the truth." Ellen's eyes glistened. "How can you not resent me? I was cruel, ignorant, prejudiced." Traoré's response was calm but firm. "I understand your words came from a lack of knowledge, not malice. Ignorance is cured through education and experience, and you've shown a willingness to learn." That afternoon, Ellen broadcast live from Ouagadougou to her American audience. "Folks, I've been here for 3 days, and my perspective has been turned upside down," she said, standing in front of the presidential palace. "Ibrahim Traoré isn't a boy in costume. He's a visionary transforming his country in ways I never imagined." She shared footage of the projects she'd seen. "Look at these hospitals, these schools, this technology. While I was making ignorant jokes, this man was saving lives and building futures for millions." Ellen announced a new initiative. "I'm launching a series on my show about modern African leaders. It's time Americans see the real Africa, not the stereotypes we've been fed." At a farewell dinner that evening, Ellen gave an emotional speech. "President Traoré, you could have humiliated me 3 months after Ellen DeGeneres' transformative visit to Burkina Faso. The effects of her journey reverberated across the United States and beyond. Her show had reinvented itself, dedicating a series of episodes to African leaders, technological innovations, and stories of progress from across the continent. Our viewership has surged by 40% since we began showcasing the real Africa," Ellen shared in an interview with a major news outlet, her voice brimming with conviction. "We've learned that inspiration and truth connect with people far more than careless jokes." Her episode spotlighting Ibrahim Traoré became the most watched in her show's history, pulling in 18 million viewers in the U.S. alone. A leading critic wrote, "This episode will change how you see Africa forever." In Burkina Faso, the impact was even more profound. The global attention from Ellen's platform sparked a wave of investment. Aissata Kone, the Minister of Economy, rushed into Traoré's office, her face alight with excitement. "Mr. President, we've secured $2.3 billion in new investments in just 3 months. Much of it from American entrepreneurs who saw Ellen's coverage." Traoré studied the data, a quiet pride in his eyes. "This is what happens when the world sees our strength," he said. Fatoumata, his wife, called with more news. "Traoré, top universities, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, are proposing exchange programs with our schools. Ellen has truly shifted how people view us." The ripple effects spread across Africa. Other African leaders began appearing on American television, invited to share their visions and successes. "Traoré opened a path for all of us," the Ghanaian president said during a global summit. "He proved that dignity can dismantle prejudice." Ellen launched a permanent foundation for African education, emphasizing technology and sustainability. At the opening of a new technical school in Ouagadougou, she spoke with passion. "Every dollar invested here multiplies into hope and opportunity." A U.S. diplomat, observing the event, remarked, "Ellen has forged connections with Africa that our foreign policy should have prioritized years ago." On a calm evening, Traoré and Fatoumata sat together, reflecting on the past months. "I never thought responding with dignity could spark such a movement," Traoré said, his voice soft but resolute. Fatoumata smiled, her hand resting on his. You didn't just stand up for Burkina Faso. You reshaped how the world sees our continent. Traoré's gaze turned to the horizon. This is only the beginning. We have more to show the world. A year after the initial controversy, IBRAHIM TRAORÉ stood before a packed auditorium at Harvard University, invited by Ellen DeGeneres herself. Students, professors, and international business leaders filled the room, eager to hear from the young president who had turned an insult into a global awakening. Ellen introduced him, her voice warm with respect. President Traoré showed me that dignity is stronger than any weapon. He's changed not only my perspective, but how millions view Africa. The audience erupted in applause as Traoré took the stage. A year ago, an American host laughed at me on television. He began, his tone steady yet engaging, prompting a ripple of laughter from the crowd. Today, we're here celebrating partnerships that uplift two continents. He shared compelling figures. Burkina Faso's economy grew 22% last year. We created 300,000 jobs. Our literacy rate is now 89%. This isn't magic. It's the result of deliberate policies and mutual respect. The room hung on his every word. A student asked, "How did you stay so calm in the face of mockery?" Traoré smiled gently. "My mother always said, ignorant people make noise, wise people make change. I chose change." After the speech, Traoré and Ellen walked across Harvard's campus. "You've transformed my life," Ellen admitted, her voice sincere. "And you've shifted the perspective of millions of Americans," Traoré replied. "We did this together. Your courage to learn and grow is rare." Ellen paused, then shared a bold announcement. "I'm relocating my show's production to Ouagadougou. I want the world to see that Africa is the future." Traoré's eyes widened, then softened with a smile. "That's a powerful commitment, Ms. DeGeneres. Burkina Faso welcomes you." That night, at a White House dinner, the U.S. president spoke of the transformation. IBRAHIM TRAORÉ has done more for Africa's global image in 1 year than decades of diplomacy. In Ouagadougou, the streets buzzed with celebration. Citizens gathered, holding signs that read, "Traoré proved our greatness." A young woman spoke to a journalist. "Our president showed us we don't need to shout to be heard. Our work speaks for us." Years later, historians would study this moment as a pivotal shift when modern Africa stepped confidently onto the world stage. It began with a young leader who chose education over anger, dignity over retaliation. Ellen DeGeneres, once the source of the insult, became a powerful ally, her platform amplifying Africa's truth. Together, they built bridges that reshaped global perceptions, proving that respect, born of understanding, could change the course of history.